Sales, sales, sales. It's like sometimes we think that we can magically make money without it, but we can't. Let me make this stupidly clear. In business and in life, you're either doing the damn thing or you're not. But what I also want to make clear is that, listen, you're either trying to make money, you're either trying to stack cash or you're not. I can't even begin to tell you how many business owners I meet around the world who come up to me and they say, you know what, I just need to make more money. I need to pay for this thing, or this is not happening, or. And it's like, well, wait. Well, when was the last time you asked someone to buy a product? When was the last time you asked someone to actually buy something from you? And then they look in the air and they're like, you hear that awkward silence? That's exactly what happens when I ask people how many times are they asking someone to buy. Now, what's so real about the art of sales is that sales is a non-negotiable, non-compromisable type of thing that happens because you actually cannot be in business without a sale. You cannot. And more importantly, I don't care what company you give me. Like, I don't care if it's Apple, Google, or if it's little old Tiffany Largie. It doesn't matter. Without money, we can't hire people, we can't pay for things, we can't grow, we cannot scale. And without asking someone to buy something, there's just no money. So the real question is, how many times a day, a week, a month, and this year have you actually asked someone to buy something for you? Now, the art of asking, I don't want this to, let me actually make this clear. Let me say it like this. Whether or not you're trying to add $1 million to your bottom line or you're in the process of getting to $1 million, the number one problem that I see around the world, male, female, black, white, Christian, Jew, fat, skinny, don't matter, all of the above, is their willingness to put sales first and getting ready to sell second. Let me make this crazy clear statement. Sales fixes almost everything. There are a few things it can't fix, but baby, I'm telling you, I've been in business a long time. I'm 16 years in the game, and I'll tell you, sales fixes a hell of a lot of things. The faster, the more you put your sales process, and then your sales team in front of your company effort initiatives, the faster you make money, change the game, and turn things around. Now, there are other things to consider when it comes to growing, scaling your business. One of them for sure, culture. One of them for sure, process, how we sell. What does the vibe feel like as we're selling things? And yeah, there's other components to the game, but at the core of it, at the heartbeat of this thing, it's sales, sales, and more sales. I stick here and I wanted to make this entire journey for you around what you're selling, how you're selling it, and just getting that in the forefront because I want to start you down a path not only to finish the year strong, but to start the next year stupidly crazy stronger. Because if you can button up your sales process for yourself and your team, you win. I want to kind of dial in on conversation part number 1. So whether you're managing a team or you're riding this game solo, sales can't be the afterthought in the day. Like, it's kind of got to be the first part of the day. It's tempting to get bogged down by meetings and blogs and webinars and trainings and the preparation of making money and the preparation of getting ready. It's like, every other person is like, I'm getting ready to get the ready of the getting ready. And you're like, but are you actually doing anything? The consistency of your sales efforts will always outrun your strategy around your sales efforts. Lesson number 1. The consistency around your sales efforts will always outweigh the strategy around it. I'm telling you right now, if you can just flipping get consistent, you would absolutely change the game. Like, you would stupidly change the game. And I say consistent but I'll tell you also consistent for your team. I am asked at least once a week, Tiffany, how did you build a 7-figure business? And I'm like, listen. I'd love to tell you that I'm magical and I just developed this super dope product and I can write code and I can do all other types of amazing things, but that's not the truth. I'd be flat out lying. I just figured out how to consistently knock on 45 doors every mother flipping day. Every mother flipping day. I made sales like a non-negotiable thing. I may have forfeited other things, but I definitely say to myself, hell, I know for a fact that I don't have to be awesome. I don't even have to have this whole thing figured out. I don't even have to understand the depth of everything else. I just need to make sure that I knock on 45 doors every day. So when I started, like after I had the taste of making some money, so remember, beforehand, I'm going to bed hungry. Life sucks. The end of the world was like every flipping day. Like the end of the world was every flipping day. I felt like I wasn't enough. I was frustrated. There was an attempt for me to get a job and I entertained it, but like, let's just be real. I don't have a college degree. I don't have any type of real license or certification, any of that stuff. So when I would apply, the most I was applying for was like administrative assistant, things like that. And I'm not saying that that's bad, but with 2 kids to feed, no dad around, there's no real help from my family financially. Like I'm so SOL. I better have this whole thing figured out. And what was so real for me is that I felt like I never had an answer. Starting a business, growing a business was like the only possibility of like little me having hope. It was the only thing of me like really making something happen for Jada and Maya. I look back on it and I think to myself, what was kind of that light bulb moment? And it was this. It was solely this. I knew for a fact that when I started making gift baskets, okay, so if you haven't actually like read into our site, if you haven't gone to tiffanylargie.com, you haven't actually read our site and you've never seen me speak, you missed this key part, which is I didn't really invent this cool business. I just went to the store. I went to the bookstore and I got this book that told me that I read this book, I should say, that told me that I could start a business for under $100. You remember those books? We used to have them, right? It was like top 50 businesses you could start for like under $500. There was one section that was like $500 plus. The other one was like 100 to 500. And then there was a tiny little section that said 0 to 100. And, you know, like there was no way in hell I was going to even entertain business ideas that were more than $100. And for me, starting a business was the only tiny little glimmer of hope that I had out of my situation. Fast forward, I see myself reading this thing, decide on a business, $100, and I can build a business that gets me to make $40,000, $50,000 a year. And at that time, like $40,000, $50,000, I'm like renting out the Taj Mahal. I'm driving up in a Bentley and like everybody goes to Sizzler. You know what I'm talking about? Like everybody's going. So at this point, this knock on the door thing comes about because I started a gift basket business. I have no way in hell for people to figure out that I'm sitting on my living room floor with a dope basket for them to buy. And I'm like, the internet, like, are you out of your God-given mind? I'm still trying to figure out these mother effing AOL CDs, which, you know, like the last thing Tiffany Largie needs to be trying to figure out is how to sell on the internet. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to knock on doors. I start knocking on doors with my basket in hand, asking apartment complexes to buy this welcome basket I had brilliantly created. And I say the word brilliantly. It's like a little bit sarcastic because I super suck at gift baskets. I am not creative. I could not tie a bow to save my life or to save your life. Like we would all be in trouble. But it didn't change the fact that I was hungry. I was determined, and I was desperate. So I knock on these doors, a woman, after knocking on doors for days. And that was my first kind of concept. First lesson number 1, you have to be consistent. Every single day I drove to apartment complexes. Actually, I didn't drive. I bummed rides from people, drove to the apartment complexes, knocked on a certain amount of doors every single day. I eventually got someone to buy it. So lesson number 1 here is like, you've got to be consistent. Sales cannot be like a sporadic, I'm going to do a little bit Monday. I'm going to be all in next Thursday. On the 31st, I'm going to sit in my office. No, this is not how this thing works. This is not how it works. Damn it. It's not. It's got to be every day. If you're really going to change the game, it's got to be every day. And if you're running a team, it needs to be every day, even on days you don't feel like it. Because at the end of this life, we literally kind of have to say to ourselves, I'm either doing the damn thing or I'm not. I either did the damn thing or I didn't, or I just wasted everybody's time. I wasted my own time because I didn't even fight for my dreams. I allowed my dreams to escape. And I don't know about you, but that's like the number 1 thing that drives me. That's what makes me most afraid for you. That's what makes me most afraid for myself and all the people that we serve around the world, is the possibility of really living this whole life and not even having a real stab at their dreams. Like, yikes. So the world of consistency is one thing, and the art of consistency meets a process. So my process was pretty simple. My process was I needed to get up every single day and have a way in which I was connecting with our person, the kind of language I would use, and the materials I would hand out. One of the most overlooked areas that I see today, now a decade plus later, is working with business owners around the world who are running teams, whether it's 10 people, 20 people. Some are sales focused and some are not sales focused. They're support or fulfillment focused, and there's no real process. There's like a underlying hidden assumed process, but there's no written process. Or I see the amazing CEO that has a ton of people who's supporting them, but they really don't have the process themselves in any written format. It's kind of a dangerous place to be, because what happens if one day we need to hire new people? What happens if someone gets sick? What happens if you can't open your mouth? You've got to be able to really truly be in more places at once and have the same amount of impact as you would if you were in person. The consistency in the process is literally everything. So many business owners are inconsistent in their sales efforts and they don't have a process around it. Ideally for our clients, let me give you kind of the rule of math right now. As we coach and help people in different revenue focuses, if you will, it's like there's a power of 10. So for me, I'm looking for 10 pieces of activity online sometimes and 10 pieces of activity offline. There's got to be a rule of thumb around this factual statement. So for years, the math dictated that 1 in 20 touches turn into a prospect, and then 1 in 5 of those touches, they turn into a opportunity, someone who we can hand a proposal to. Now, if it takes 100, now this is for the average guy, this is for average Joe, but if it takes 100 touches in order for us to ... and then we only come out with 5, we'll flip. If I need 4 sales for the month, my goodness, we're talking about 400 touches. 400 touches in a month's time. Now that sounds like a lot, but it is what it is. I'm not here to tell you, like, my role and responsibility right now is not to try to get you to, see my game. I'm giving you the background of what the game is in general and how the game is played. And then it's up to you to figure out how you're willing, because it's a willingness to maneuver and operate within the game that already is. There is such a reason why the industry standards are still what they are. Less than 2.5% of all businesses get to 7 figures, and less than 9% of all businesses get to 6 figures. That's crazy, small business. Like, that's so nuts. Every time I think about it, I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Literally and truly, less than 11% of the entire business scape gets to 6 figures. And let's say that stat, and let's say I'm off by 2%, whoop-de-doo. Less than 85% of all business owners don't get to 6 figures. That's scary. Consistency and process. And my goal for this was not just to say sales, and more sales, but it's to say put sales first. It's the core of how I built a multiple 7-figure business without an online funnel. Now, if you haven't attended one of our trainings before, there's an amazing training. Totally go grab it. It's withoutafunnel.com. And I go into depth around how I built a multiple 7-figure business without an online funnel. But I say that because it's not just about you, because there was a point, like, I hit 6 figures. I was doing multiple 6 figures. And yes, I could have sold my way to 7 figures myself, but boy, I'm only one person. And at that time, there was a lot of things I did well, and there was a whole lot of things I did not do well. There's a whole lot of things I sucked at. My willingness to start taking my knowledge, my skill, and my expertise and put it into another format that could be consumed by other people changed the game. I started hiring salespeople. Some were 100% commission, some were not 100% commission. It depended on their skill level, and it depended on the amount of money that they wanted to make. But what was true is that me and my ability to sit down and take the time to properly train other people in sales is the sole reason, like 100% the sole reason as to how I got to 7 figures, because there's a point in which you're in business and you cannot scale. Like, I'm sorry, offline, especially a service-based business, like, there's no way. Maybe a product business online on Amazon or something, but like, a real brick and mortar kind of business, there's no way that you can scale to seven, like in my opinion, and based on my experience, to seven figures without hiring a team, without having other people support you and other brilliant minds at the table. Salespeople are some of the most overlooked areas. And when it comes to selling, some of the most, or the last place where we look to hire. And the CEO just tries to take on the whole sales game to forever and a day, and then some, simply because they're like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to sell because I'm the only great person. No one else will ever understand my products and services. And it's like, that's not 100% true. I used to think the same thing, but I started hiring. I started realizing, man, if I give people the room and the ability to grow, I know that they have the ability to do some dynamic things if I make room for them and if I allow them to. But I have to emotionally, mentally, and then physically make room for the salespeople. When I sold my company back in 2015, we had roughly 12 plus salespeople. And I say roughly because we were definitely in a time where there were some people who needed to go, some people who were awesome and stayed, but we had roughly 12 plus salespeople and we had 3 physical offices. And for me, I can't tell you that there was any one perfect type of a salesperson, but I will say that training became the name of the game. And I was so weak in that area. I didn't even understand how to train people because I suck as a manager. I'm great and awesome as a CEO. I kill it in the streets. But as a manager, that is not my strength and not my skill. But I did have to adopt the arm of being able to manage people and build an additional arm so that I could create processes and processes that other people could duplicate, and so I could extend myself into other places. So let me be clear, whether you're in a cash crunch or you're like, man, we want to add $500,000 in the next 4 months. Like, I don't care what it is. I don't care what's in front of you. I want you to be clear. A sales process and putting sales first is at the beginning of solving that problem. Your sales game, if you're not making, like if you're behind on cash right now and you can't pay your bills, like, and I don't want you to think this is for someone who is, I don't want you to think that statement was for someone who's just making $35,000. You know what? I'll tell you what, I remember having a client who was doing a couple $1 million. I want to say they were doing about 3 when I walked in. They had 50 plus employees and the CEO was taking home less than $20,000 a year. Less than $20,000 a year. Be clear. Let me just blow up every other 7-figure earning spot. You know, this is like a total sidebar, but it's important because this is the truth. So often we hear the word 7 figures, $1 million, and we swear in our lives that those people are rolling in cash. That's not the truth. That is not the truth always. Sometimes behind the scenes, especially with a service-based business where we have fixed margins, we have a cost of doing business already established, like the revenue behind it doesn't always mean we're profitable, but I often find that CEOs have other things they want to work on before they work on their sales process. And they're like, okay, we fixed the website, it's going to be amazing. If we install this software, it's going to be amazing. If we paint the walls in the office, it's going to be amazing. If we ... Nope. If you just focus on sales and have all the other 52 people focus on sales too and go sell some stuff out there, ask people to buy. The first 25% of your day at a minimum, depending on how badly you're bleeding, should be you asking people to buy something for you, period. Every day, 7 days a week, period. I want to emphasize the word period. Someone says to me, you know what, Tiffany, I really want to make another couple $100,000. I'm like, okay, great. Well, if you're going to do another couple $100,000, then we need to have like $1 million in our pipeline, or we need to have like $500,000 in our pipeline. We have to have like a number that we can pull that $200,000 out of. And in order to pull that number and put people in our pipeline, we have to make offers. Well, my gosh, if we are going to make more offers, like, yeah, for sure. If you want to close one person a week, you should be giving out about 20 offers for the month. If you want to pull out one offer a week, you should be giving out about 20 brand new offers to different prospects and different people a month. 20. In order to put out 20 offers, you probably need to be in front of somewhere, like you probably should have had somehow maybe like 100 conversations, plus or minus, depending on how good you are in sales and how great you are at closing. Like you should totally be about 100. It's a simple formula. But at the end of the day, if you're not doing activity, if your team is not doing activity and you guys just have endless meetings to meet about being prepared to be prepared, then you're totally missing out on cash that is just sitting on the table And the people who were meant to buy from you are buying from other people because you're not asking them to buy from you. And more importantly, you put a bigger gap in between yourself and the reality of your business getting to that next level. You actually living the dream and you living a life that you flipping love. And yes, I do believe everybody should build a life that they flipping love. So in that, I say sales fixes almost everything. Are you putting it first, second, third, or last on your list every day, CEO? Or is it not on your radar at all? Man, have I told you how glad I am that you're here? Like, real talk, have I flippin' told you how glad I am that you are here? You have listened. This is the part of the show where I say, go follow us, go find us, go follow us, go stalk us. But just make sure that we're connected. Head to dothedamnthing.tv, dothedamnthing.life, or just go hang out on tiffanylargie.com. If we are not friends on Facebook, if you have not liked our Instagram page, go do that, because you're going to want to see what we're doing, how we're doing, and how we're doing the damn thing daily.